And welcome back. And I'm privileged to spend my closing segment with Pastor J.D. Farag. And he's a pastor of Calvary Chapel, Kaneohe, Hawaii. And many of you know him, and I'll say more about his prophecy update as we move along here. And he said in a message I heard him give recently on YouTube, and I'll give you that info in just a bit, that the U.S. election, and he calls them antics, and I agree, actually make him very ashamed. And he also calls the constant focus on the U.S. election a terrible distraction. I think he even called it a demonic distraction. It's distracting us from other things that are happening or about to happen. And we'll say more about a lot of these things that just might be happening in the near and distant future. But I want to welcome for the first time to the microphones of Understanding the Times Radio, Pastor J.D. Farag from Calvary Chapel, Kaneohe, Hawaii. Thank you, J.D., for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
And I've been watching, of course, I follow you weekly on your prophecy update on YouTube. And you said, it was about a month ago now, that you said that this year's presidential election, it really reveals that God's hands are kind of off of the United States now. I mean, his hand of restraint seems to be lifted from us, and everything that we're watching as it concerns the 2016 election, as important as it is, and it is hugely important, it's an actual embarrassment, particularly because of some of the behavior that we're watching, but just the total overall effect of what's going on.
You know, I see it not only as a distraction, I see it as a demonic deception.
Yes.
And the problem is that it is taking the focus of the attention, unfortunately, of God's people off of what I believe is going to be an imminent attack on Israel and the collapse of America, the destruction of America. And I'm of the belief that this demonic deception comes from none other than the father of lies, the devil himself, who is deceiving the masses by way of the powerful delusion that the Apostle Paul talks to the church in Thessalonica about in chapter 2 of his second epistle. And this is very concerning, and it's as grievous as it is concerning, because I'm watching this once most powerful and blessed nation on earth fall prey to the deception of the enemy. And it seems to me, as I look through the lens of Bible prophecy at what's taking place today, chiefly here in America, what's striking to me is that 2 Thessalonians 2 is in play in real time, because Paul talks about this strong delusion that God himself sends, and he says that they should believe the lie. And the antithesis of the lie is the truth. And Jesus is the truth, the way, the truth, and the life. And so what's happening now with everything that's taking place is, and the propaganda is getting worse and worse, seemingly by the day.
Yep, it is.
And you see what's happening, and the election is such that, I mean, with each passing day, there's something new and scandalous that blankets our television screens and our computer screens. And meanwhile, under the radar, we are watching Israel, who is on the cusp now of being attacked. And interesting, just in the last couple of days, it has been learned that the Islamic State has a cell in Jerusalem.
Israel is surrounded, and I think folks don't quite grasp that all the time. She's got Hezbollah on the north. She's got Hamas on the south. She's got Palestinian terrorists throughout her entire territory. And now she's got the Islamic State starting to make inroads into her. And I think that's one of the things, it's a couple of the things that you referred to with this distraction of the election. And one is this perhaps imminent attack from one or all of these enemies of Israel. And then, of course, your other deep concern is the coming, almost, you call it an imminent collapse of America. Imminent means very, very soon.
Matter of when, not if.
Yeah.
And again, I keep coming back to 2 Thessalonians 2. And I really believe in verse 3 that when Paul says, let no one deceive you by any means, for that day will not come unless the departure, rapture, comes first, and then the man of sin is revealed, the son of perdition. So if that's what he's saying, and I truly believe it is, and I'm in pretty good company, then all of a sudden, verse 7 comes into clearer focus, because he says, for the mystery of lawlessness is already at work. Only he who now restrains will do so until he is taken out of the way, and then the lawless one will be revealed. In other words, the Antichrist cannot be revealed until the church is removed. Mm-hmm. If you try to interpret, particularly 2 Thessalonians 2, any differently, you're twisting this eschatological pretzel in such a way that nothing makes any sense. Now, why is that so important? Because if the Antichrist cannot be revealed until the church is removed, and we're seeing everything in play right now. The lawlessness is already at work. The powerful delusion is already in play. So that tells me that it's imminent. The church is going to be removed. The rapture is imminent. Mm-hmm. The destruction of the United States of America is imminent. The attack on Israel is imminent.
You said something in one of your messages that you believe that Barack Obama has a satanic hatred of Israel. I would agree with you. There are very few people who are willing to be quite as blunt, I think, as you and I are. I'm going back to the Middle East now. And, of course, that has been so detrimental to America and to America's survival. One of the reasons we survive is a couple of reasons. We get the gospel to the ends of the earth, but also we've been Israel's allies since 1948. Up until the last 7.5 years, we've become her literal enemy. And I'm sure that's as shocking to you as it has been to me.
Please know that I do not take any delight or pleasure in making a statement as strong as that. But here's why I believe that with all my heart. I watch this man and I see his body language and the look on his face whenever he's meeting with Netanyahu or talking about Israel. And conversely, I see his body language and I see the look on his face when he's talking about Islam. And therein lies the reason why I discern. It's a discernment of spirits. It's a discernment of the Spirit. Yeah. And I can see, I was thinking about in 2 Kings 8 when Elisha is asked by Hazael, who is the servant of Ben-Hadad, who's the king of Syria, in 2 Kings chapter 8. And it says that Elisha, who was asked by Hazael about whether or not Ben-Hadad would survive this illness, he's on his deathbed, and Elisha says to him, yes, he will recover, but he will actually die. And it was a prophecy that Hazael, who 24 hours later would fulfill when he assassinates Ben-Hadad and becomes king of Syria. And what's really interesting is, as Elisha proclaims this prophecy about Hazael and Ben-Hadad, he begins to weep. And Hazael asks him, why are you weeping? And he says, I'm weeping because I know what you're going to do, the evil that you will do to the children of Israel. And he goes on to describe in graphic detail what this evil man is going to do to God's people. And I'm sad to say that I feel the same way as it relates to the President of the United States of America. It's heartbreaking. It is just heartbreaking what he's already done.
To Israel.